You know that one point in your childhood when you're gonna be asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I had a response to that. That response being a scientist space explorer. Oh, and then a game designer. And because of that, I was able to make games in the most basic way possible. I don't know if you know this, but I like video games. So when I was 7, I asked myself the bigger questions in life. Yeah, playing these video games are cool, but what if I were to make them? But without the trying part. So, instead of getting things like JavaScript or Notepad, I got this handy little tool known as Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi, according to Wikipedia, is a series of small single-board computers developed in the United Kingdom by the Raspberry Pi Foundation in association with Broadcom. Essentially just a computer. And installed of said computer, there was a small little application famously known as Scratch. Scratch was a very crappy, bare-bones, yet functional coding website. But instead of using lines of code, you have these bricks that are kinda like puzzle pieces. Putting these two together can make them do certain things. And after hundreds of YouTube videos and hours looking at a TV screen, I was able to make games. Like, 40 of them. They were all really bad, but obviously these weren't made for any monetary gains, so I really didn't care. I was just having fun making RPGs, platformers, and fighting games. But then, for some reason, I lost the Raspberry Pi. It was gone, and I still don't know where it is to this day. As a result, ulterior motives had to be made. That ulterior motive being the official Scratch website. This was pretty much the same as the Raspberry Pi edition. A few new bricks were added, and you can upload your games for the whole world to see. I deliberately remember spending hours on my computer screen just making games. And it turns out that 80 games were made by yours truly. Granted, these games were incomplete, so I was only able to publish 6 of them. I just played them recently and they're hot garbage. And I think I knew that these games were hot garbage, so I stopped making games on Scratch overall. Like, I didn't delete anything, my stuff is still there, but I just quit. 4 years later, I was given a Steam account, The Binding of Isaac, and Notepad++. I think you all can see where this is going. Well, in case you don't, Steam has these things called workshops. A workshop is only exclusive to some games where people just upload mods. And this game was definitely one of those exclusives. And I wanted to be making mods. And all I really did was go on Photoshop and reskin some of the stuff. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I tried looking up information on how to code, and even though I followed all the steps, I failed miserably. So I started over. Countless notebooks were used for planning, just using all the pages to find out what enemies, bosses, and items would look like. I tried implementing new features that were barely in any other mods, but soon after, I realized that this was way too ambitious, and I stopped. I didn't stop because I wanted to give up. I stopped because I was modding for all the wrong reasons. It felt like I was doing it for the sole purpose of doing it, not because I thought it would be fun. And because of that, I stopped modding The Binding of Isaac. 6 months later, I wanted to make a game. Like, a whole game with a full-fledged story and everything. So, the first thing I would do is think of character designs. Which was a princess. She doesn't look like one, but she is, trust me. The original plan for the game was to make it a Metroidvania type, so I drew out all the items and what they were gonna look like. And, they don't look too well. And that was as far as I went to in the game. There was neither coding or a story. I guess it seems scary to me for some reason. So, will I ever do coding again? Probably not. I think it's just a little bit troublesome for me. And I'm sure it pays off in the end, but still, the answer's no.